Warframe. Space ninjas. Space ninjas. Ninjas in space. Lately we've been kind of missing that last part of the equation, but it wasn't always so. The Archwing is kind of the poster child for sidelined Warframe content, predating even the Conclave and comfortably existing as a playable museum exhibit of content the average player needs to interact with only minimally before they move on and start having fun with the actual updated and current parts of the game. But that doesn't mean Archwing has nothing to offer. In fact, I think we can learn a lot about how Warframe's design has changed over the years and how it might update in the future by taking a magnifying glass to Archwing, when Warframe went to space. Before the more grandiose and successful time Warframe went to space. Archwings are a really cool and unique to Warframe form of space traversal that allows your Tenno to just slap some wings on and maneuver around at high speeds in space. In Archwing missions, your equipped Warframe's abilities are overridden by your Archwing of choice, with each one having a tactical niche, although there is one that stands far above its peers. The Odinata is the starter Archwing, and acts as a jack of all trades. It comes packed with flares that actually do nothing, as well as a swarm of anime missiles that unfortunately fall victim to the 2014 Warframe Design School shortcoming of, this ability looks really awesome but deals actually no damage. Repel is kinda like a radial disarm in space, so it's more useful than the missiles, but I'm pretty sure someone already made a video essay on how CC in Warframe is heavily outdated and obsolete, and tragically, a double negative of outdated mechanics in an outdated game mode does not produce a positive result. Energy Shell is just Volt Shield in space with heat instead of electrical damage, which is surprisingly quite good actually. The Elytron is the heavy Archwing, having more health than the Odinata and focusing on mass destruction, as in literally every ability it has focuses on dealing blast damage in a huge area, which would be really cool if Archwing abilities were allowed to deal damage. The Itzal is the utility Archwing, and it fares better than the last two on account of not being designed to explicitly deal damage, and therefore not completely falling on its face in that department. It comes with a grappling hook, a black hole that condenses enemies and items, a stationary invisibility field that is its main defense against getting insta-gibbed, and a fighter drone escort that looks cool, deals no damage, but at least is able to draw enemy fire. And the Amesha, boy howdy, the Amesha is something else. This thing is pinned as the healing and support Archwing, but it is actually the immortality engine. It has no damaging abilities, but that's okay because, as we've established, the other Archwings also don't have any damaging abilities, despite technically having abilities designed to deal damage. The Amesha has literally Mesmer Skin, a Loki decoy that turns damage taken into healing pulses, channeled status immunity, and an ability that makes you quite literally indestructible, full stop, for 30 seconds, with no cooldown, and it also turns any damage you receive into energy so you can just recast it again later. If you're serious about using Archwing in the Steel Path or in Railjack dogfights, this thing is basically a requirement to not get immediately exploded by high-level enemies. Modding for Archwings is lame. There, I said it. Not like anyone's gonna particularly care. Not counting augments, there are literally 12 Archwing mods in the entire game, so every build is gonna look almost exactly identical. I'm fine with this. I didn't really have Forma for 4 different Archwings in my budget anyways. Weapons are unique in Archwing in that with zero gravity conditions, your Tenno is able to wield these insane looking, huge, otherwise impossible to control weapons with surprising dexterity. If nothing else, I think these are some of the coolest looking things we've gotten out of Archwing as a whole. Arc guns in space feel incredible to use. All of them have massive projectile attacks, insane fire rates, or just weird X-Factor mechanics, like the Velocitus ricocheting an insane amount of times in enclosed environments, or the Larkspurs chaining beam attacks, and the Fluctus punching clean through a level. They feel OP, which is awesome. Even more incredible is how arc guns somehow managed to escape the containment of their original game mode and gained a new life as temporary heavy weapons that you can deploy in standard Warframe missions. After acquiring the proper hardware from Solaris United, that is. As a result of this, arc guns have gotten a ton of extra mods to customize their performance, as well as legit arcane support, getting both a primary and secondary arcane, so long as you're fine spending 3 hours in the deep mines getting enough Fergalite for 2 arc gun adapters. And now that just leaves arc damn. This really isn't a bit about how bad arc melee is. Oh, okay, well it sort of is, but it was mainly about how this weapon gives me motion sickness, which is crazy because nothing, not even strapping a toaster to my face and flying around in VR has made me motion sick. But when I was leveling my arc melee for this video, I had to close my eyes like I was a 2010s YouTuber playing Amnesia, but I'm getting off topic. The whole insane camera movement thing needs to be fixed, but I think the real kick in the metaphorical pants here is that arc melee is boring somehow? Like, giant space fists? Boring? How? They all just kind of feel the same. Every arc melee looks awesome, make no mistake, but the problem is that all that size and perceived weight goes out the window with the attack animations that all consist of magnetizing onto a nearby enemy and repeatedly just bopping them until they explode. Despite getting 2 new mods in, I think, literally the entire last decade, all arc melee builds are still basically the same, with the only possible differences being elemental damage setups. I'll also add that Führer is possibly the most comically underpowered mod in the entire game. One cool point in arc melee's favor, however, is Astral Autopsy. Since you obviously can't equip synthesis scanners in space, you can buy this mod from Cephalon Samaris that causes your arc melee kills to scan that enemy into your codex. In terms of scanning Gox, I'm indifferent. But the affinity you gain from a free codex scan on every melee kill is really nice when it comes to leveling up arc wings and arc melee, and the Bone Widow, my beloved. Also, just one thing, we got channel memberships now. I'm never gonna restrict my mainline content to paying members, but if you want to support me and what I do around here, this is the way to do it and get some cool perks alongside. Things are split up into 3 tiers, with the lowest getting you a badge, emotes, and the ability to vote on some content for future videos I'm working on. $5 gets you the same thing, plus your name written out at the end of my videos, and $10 gets you your own spot on that list, plus a verbal shout out. You'll also unlock the ability to summon me into battle to deal massive damage to your enemies once per day. And hey, if money's tight and you still want to support what I do, just liking, sharing, and taking the time to drop a comment helps me a ton. Okay, anyways. Archwings can be used in open worlds as essentially disposable transportation from A to B, but before that, there were Archwing-only missions. There's usually only 1 per planet, and they, for the most part, emulate traditional Warframe missions. Exterminate, mobile defense, sabotage, interception. There's even an Archwing-exclusive assassination mission with the Jordas Golem. It's a pain, but it's also where you get Atlas from, so it's a net neutral. However, there are also mission types unique to Archwing. Rush takes place on a Corpus ship and tasks you with navigating through it as fast as possible to reach several departing transport ships, where you need to, probably violate several wartime accords. Pursuit, conversely, is a Grineer open space mission where you have to chase down a ship, disable its engines, then shields, then systems before defending it from enemy reprisal and extracting its black box. These missions, surprisingly, surprised me. I mean, I enjoyed flying around at high speeds in them and shooting things. I think that's the Archwing's greatest strength, right? Being able to engage in flying around 3D space combat, which I think is why it's a bit of a shame that most of what people will experience with Archwing is just replications of Warframe missions that involve sitting still. Would a suite of Archwing exclusive missions that focus on kinetic, energetic motion in an open environment have saved the game mode? Probably not. But I think it's important to recognize the medium's strengths. And there you go. Ignoring the obvious giant railjack-shaped elephant in the room, that's everything Archwing. I think going back over all this content has reaffirmed to me that I do like space, and I do like Archwings. The whole different scale of moving hundreds of meters in seconds, it is a space combat system that translates Warframe's fast and kinetic design and gameplay ethos into an open 3D flight environment, and Archwing missions haven't gotten content in a decade. That's fine. I think the future of Archwing, and Necromax 2 for that matter, is as supporting pillars for Railjack, which works. I think Railjack, as a way of going between terrestrial and in-space gameplay multiple times within a mission, is what Archwing was meant to become. Also, I think that maybe Submersible was like a testing ground for switching between Archwing and normal grounded combat in a mission, which, boy howdy, that was a really bad showing of how that gameplay could work. But anyways, My hope is just that in the future, when we actually are getting Railjack content, there is also a reason to fly around on my super fast and super cool space wings. That being said, I think Archwings do need a little bit of love before they're able to slot cleanly into Railjack like they're supposed to. Namely, a damage and survivability pass to make it so they can at least perform at the level of Railjack weapons, or at least somewhere around there, seeing as that's what they'll be mostly competing with. Also because I think hoping for a retouch of what we already have is kinda as much as we're gonna get, seeing as how Modular Archwing was confirmed shot dead in Miami the other week. To summarize, I think Archwing has its jank, but at its core, it's a good idea, and I hope it'll get more love as a component of the Railjack game mode, which I will be making a video on, I promise. But yeah, I think that's all I got. Guess we'll see if I'm eating crow come TennoCon this year, right guys? Oh man.